By lawyers for actor Justin Baldoni showed unedited footage from the filming of...
One thing you should know about me is I will admit and apologize when I fail.
My nose is so big.
I was hoping that we could address this. It's not too late.
Justin, maybe you need to stop talking about my wife's weight.
What is your problem, Ryan?
My money is on Blake Lively being wrong.
Teaching Justin how to pull you in. I love this.
I felt good in the moment, and for her to use this vulnerable moment against me.
You literally know nothing about women.
Buckle up, because what's coming to light is far more explosive than anyone expected. For the first time, we're seeing private text messages and voice recordings that never made it into the official court filings, material that paints a very different picture of Blake Lively's connection with director Justin Baldoni. But that's only part of the story. Newly surfaced behind-the-scenes clips from the set show Blake in situations that appear to clash directly with the narrative presented in her legal statements. Here's the twist. None of this evidence will be made public until the trial formally opens, meaning the real fireworks haven't even started yet. Every new detail adds pressure, raising questions about how much of Blake's version of events will stand once the courtroom spotlight is on. Observers are already drawing comparisons to other high-profile Hollywood cases, warning that this could spark a media storm of its own. And make no mistake, this unfolding drama is just getting started.
Time progressed in this film. She decided that she wanted to be a producer. She started to make edits. She wanted to be part of the editing team. There were people hired, like human beings actually hired to do the editing job, who had done work.
What pushes this entire saga into even more explosive territory is the allegation that Blake Lively attempted to use her star-studded inner circle as leverage. According to sources, she hinted at calling on none other than Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds to pressure both Justin Baldoni and Sony Pictures. The message was hard to miss: give her greater creative control over the project or risk losing the goodwill of her massive fanbase, amplified by the reach of two of Hollywood's most powerful names. But here's the twist: this high-stakes gamble didn't land the way she had hoped. Instead of tightening her grip on the production, her strategy began to unravel, raising eyebrows behind closed doors and sparking resistance instead of compliance. What was meant to be a show of influence ended up exposing deep tensions and creating a new layer of problems for her team. And trust me, the details of how this plan collapsed are as dramatic as the movie itself.
Making any sense after working for this film for almost 2 years, together collaborating, text messages, voice memos, getting along, joking. We never had an issue before the break, and then after the break, suddenly there's this weird thing going on with all these demands. I met them at their place, and Ryan blows up on me, and then Taylor's looking at me.
That was Justin Baldoni essentially stepping in to defend himself against the whirlwind of accusations and tension stirred up by Blake Lively. And let me tell you, if you thought it was dramatic before, you might want to keep the popcorn close, because this saga only escalates from here. From the outside, none of this seemed predictable. For nearly 2 years, Blake and Justin worked side by side on the film, collaborating in meetings, sharing laughs on set, and showing no visible signs of conflict. Then, after just a short break in production, everything shifted. Suddenly, Blake was making new demands, Ryan Reynolds allegedly lashed out at Justin, and Taylor Swift distanced herself as if he had committed some unforgivable wrong. Here's where the story takes an even stranger turn. Despite the growing tension, Justin insists he never crossed a line. He says he kept things professional, respectful, and focused on the work. Blake even joined him for long sessions in the editing room, pushing to be deeply involved in post-production. But the breaking point came not from outright rejection, but from a single boundary. Justin didn't deny her input, he only asked her to wait until he had a rough cut ready before weighing in. That one pause, that one not yet, changed everything. From that moment, Justin found himself locked out of his own creation. Sony transferred creative authority to Blake, and suddenly Ryan and Taylor were promoting the film as though it had been her vision all along. Meanwhile, the director who had poured 5 years of his life into the project was reduced to a guest at his own premiere. Even more shocking was the role of Colleen Hoover, the author of the best-selling novel behind the adaptation. She had handpicked Justin to direct, collaborated with him on the script, and even stood by his side for promotional events after the alleged harassment had supposedly taken place. Yet when Blake filed her lawsuit, Colleen's allegiance shifted overnight. Her public Instagram post backing Blake blindsided Justin and sparked the lingering question, was this shift spontaneous, or had Blake orchestrated it from the beginning once her demands weren't met? As if the legal drama weren't enough, another disturbing layer emerged. Supporters of Justin began noticing his personal details surfacing online, old addresses, phone numbers, even private emails spreading through shadowy corners of the internet. It was a stark reminder of how vulnerable anyone can become in the digital age, and how costly and difficult it can be to claw back sensitive information once it's exposed. Yet despite being sidelined, Justin never lashed out at Blake in public. In interviews, he repeatedly called her brilliant, praised her dedication, and credited her for shaping key aspects of the film. He even emphasized her influence over sensitive intimacy scenes, describing her vision as clear and impactful. The question is, why would a man who felt betrayed continue to highlight her talents? That contrast is at the heart of this scandal. On one side, Blake portrays herself as a victim of misconduct. On the other, Justin maintains unwavering respect for her contributions, even as he's stripped of control. So which story holds weight? Did Blake genuinely feel undermined, or was this about consolidating power? Were Ryan and Taylor's actions driven by loyalty, or part of a calculated effort to rally public sympathy? And what about Colleen Hoover? Was her pivot a matter of conviction, or industry pressure? The deeper this story goes, the messier it becomes. What began as a passion project adapting a beloved novel has spiraled into one of Hollywood's ugliest disputes in years. A storm of lawsuits, fractured friendships, reputations hanging by a thread, and trust obliterated. And at the core lies a question bigger than any single movie. How far will people go when influence, image, and power collide in an industry where perception means everything?
With us, so I'm hoping to see you back in the double duty role.
I think there are better people for that one.
Justin!
I think Blake Lively's ready to direct.
After Blake took full control of the project, re-editing scenes and reshaping the film to her vision, one detail stood out. Publicly, she never once credited Justin for his years of work. Not a single word of acknowledgement, despite private text messages that told a strikingly different story. In those exchanges, Blake had praised him, thanked him, and even called him talented, expressing genuine appreciation for his collaboration. But then came the real turning point. Just as the behind-the-scenes tension reached its peak, Blake leveled a serious accusation, claiming Justin had acted inappropriately during the filming of intimate scenes. Her lawsuit framed the allegation without supporting evidence, no context, no corroboration, simply her word against his. The public was left in the dark, forced to speculate about what had truly happened when the cameras weren't rolling. That silence shattered when Justin's legal team made a bold move. They released the unedited footage of the exact scene Blake had referenced in her complaint. And with that, the narrative flipped. The raw video didn't match her description, it told a completely different story. Suddenly, the ground shifted beneath the case, and questions began pouring in. Had the accusations been misrepresented? Was the lawsuit built on shaky ground? For the first time, the credibility of Blake's claims was under intense public scrutiny.
And my nose is so big.
I was hoping that we could address this. It's not too late. Just gotta shut down. We gotta call an insurance month and just deal with that.
Blake wasn't just performing in those intimate scenes, she was directing them. At times, she even stepped into the role of intimacy coordinator, shaping the choreography and making key decisions about how the moments should unfold. Yet, in her lawsuit, she painted a very different picture, accusing Justin of pushing boundaries, improvising without consent, and kissing her far more than the script allowed. But here's the twist. Before production went on pause, the script contained only 2 kissing scenes. No hidden improvisations. No extra additions. Just what was written, nothing more. When filming resumed, however, Blake returned with a new set of demands, bypassed the actual intimacy coordinator, and refused to collaborate with them. That refusal raised a serious question. If she had already taken control of how the scenes were staged, how could she later accuse Justin of overstepping? To many, it looked like an attempt to rewrite history in order to push him aside, and she wasn't acting alone. Colleen Hoover, the very author who once praised Justin's script as flawless, suddenly pivoted the moment Blake took control. Not only did she back Blake publicly, but she reportedly helped re-edit the film, effectively cutting Justin out of the very project he had nurtured from the ground up. Then came an unexpected twist involving Taylor Swift. Justin had personally discovered the actress chosen to play Lily, fighting to secure her the part. But when it came time for final approval, Justin wasn't the one who made the call. That decision, according to the actress herself, rested in the hands of Blake and Taylor. And when the promotional interviews began, Justin's role in casting her wasn't mentioned at all. The credit went elsewhere piece by piece. It was as if Justin's fingerprints were being erased from the film entirely, despite the years he had devoted to bringing it to life.
This is all pretty much Blake's, styling. She's been my stylist. And then these are her shoes. Blake's shoes. So, literally all Blake. Yep. I feel so lucky. She is an angel. She is a guiding light. She's a force. She is everything you'd want as a mentor and as somebody to look up to.
But Blake wasn't finished stirring the pot, not by a long shot. Alongside Ryan Reynolds, she had been dropping subtle digs at Justin for months. At first, these moments seemed like harmless banter, but when you piece the clues together, a much bigger pattern starts to emerge. The shade wasn't accidental, it was calculated. Behind the scenes, Ryan wasn't just a supportive husband. Reports suggest he stepped directly into the creative process, reshaping the script alongside Blake. One cast member even confirmed that Ryan wrote several scenes himself and offered major revisions, an unusual privilege for someone not officially part of the writing team. In most productions, no actor would be allowed that level of input. But with Blake at the center, the rules didn't just bend, they broke. From the earliest days of filming, Blake and Ryan were revising dialogue daily, changing lines and reshaping moments in ways that stirred quiet tension on set. And Blake knew exactly how to play it with Justin. She praised him publicly, calling him one of the best directors she had ever worked with, an intentional contrast to past directors who, in her words, never valued her creative instincts. That praise disarmed him. Flattered and eager to maintain a collaborative environment, Justin gave her more freedom than most directors ever would. And Blake used it to her advantage. One pivotal rooftop scene, considered a defining moment in the film, was heavily rewritten under her hand. It became proof of just how much influence she had gained and how skillfully she positioned herself to take control.
For his response to her creative changes to the film's pivotal rooftop scene.
Will you please get down from there?
I'm good, thanks.
Blake didn't stop at tweaking one scene, she went all in, determined to prove just how much sway she had over the project. After reworking the rooftop sequence, she proudly told colleagues that both Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift loved her version and couldn't wait to see how Justin would respond. Then, to drive the point home, she invited Justin to her penthouse. There, with Ryan and Taylor at her side, the trio hyped up Blake's writing and pressed the idea that her changes absolutely belonged in the film. Caught in the moment and genuinely impressed, Justin texted her later that night with words of praise. He admitted he admired her talent, told her the scene worked, and even promised to weave some of her revisions into the final cut. In one exchange, Blake compared herself to Daenerys from Game of Thrones, joking that she had her own dragons in Ryan and Taylor, two powerhouse allies she believed could help her bend the industry to her will. It wasn't casual name-dropping. It was a calculated reminder that she had Hollywood's most influential names backing her every move, but one victory wasn't enough. Once Blake secured influence over a single scene, she pushed for more. Soon, she was questioning entire sequences, proposing daily changes, and reshaping the script piece by piece. What began as creative collaboration turned into a constant tug-of-war. Justin, still trying to keep the peace, allowed her space to experiment, but each concession chipped away at his control. The balance between director and star was no longer equal. Blake was rewriting the rules, one scene at a time, until Justin found himself fighting just to maintain his grip on the film he had spent years building.
The brilliance of Blake Lively. I don't think people realize how involved she was in this movie. She was extremely involved, and she really made the film better. And especially when it came to intimacy and all of that, she had a very clear vision, and she was telling me what she thought would work.
Even before cameras started rolling, signs of trouble were already emerging. According to reports, Justin made an offhand comment about Blake's weight, something that quickly spiraled into accusations of body shaming. But the context told a different story. Justin had asked Blake's trainer about her weight for one reason only. A scene required him to lift her, and with his history of back problems, he needed to make sure the stunt was safe. It wasn't a jab, it was a precaution. The problem? That private conversation didn't stay private. Blake grew upset, relayed it to Ryan, and within hours Justin found himself at their penthouse facing a heated confrontation. Ryan accused him of body shaming, while Blake allegedly threatened to quit the film unless Justin agreed to do things her way. She even warned that if he didn't comply, she would take the issue public, painting him as guilty of fat shaming. With his reputation suddenly hanging in the balance, Justin issued an apology not for the intent, but to contain the damage and keep the production alive despite the rocky start. Filming pressed forward. Blake later claimed Justin mistreated her during that first month of production. But her behavior at the time told a different story. She remained in frequent contact with him, often asking to review daily footage, praising specific scenes, and even requesting more. In one message she wrote, "Hey Justin, not trying to bug you, but that playlist you sent me was good. Just checking in again about possibly seeing the dailies." Other notes highlighted how much Ryan and Taylor loved what they were seeing, a not-so-subtle reminder that she had powerful allies watching closely if she truly felt unsafe or harassed. Her eagerness to stay engaged and her consistent praise seemed contradictory. But when Justin eventually set boundaries and refused to grant her unlimited access to the daily footage, things escalated fast. Blake turned to Ryan and her attorneys, filing fresh complaints and returning with an extensive list of demands. These weren't minor adjustments to improve workflow. They were sweeping power moves that slowed production to a crawl, jeopardized the jobs of hundreds of crew members, and put Justin's directing career at risk. Even Sony executives struggled to make sense of why their lead actress was making such disruptive requests. At that point, it became harder to deny. Blake wasn't just acting in the film, she was steering it from behind the scenes, functioning as a co-director in everything but name. And then, the true breaking point arrived. Blake's lawsuit accused Justin of harassing her during intimate scenes, alleging that he kissed her neck, sniffed her, and told her she smelled good. But when Justin's legal team released the raw, unedited footage, the narrative unraveled. Those moments weren't unscripted or improvised. They were rehearsed beats, executed under clear direction, and tied to the script itself. In context, the footage didn't validate her claims, it contradicted them.
And my nose is so big.
I was hoping that we could address this. It's not too late. Just gotta shut down. We gotta call an insurance month. And
before that raw footage was made public, Blake had no idea the audio from those intimate scenes had been preserved. In her lawsuit, she described what happened as harassment. But the recordings told a different story. Both she and Justin were in character, performing exactly what the script required. In fact, Blake herself had suggested they add dialogue to make the scene feel more romantic. When reviewed in slow motion, it became clear this was acting. Two performers laughing, improvising within the script, and staying in character to capture the mood. Nothing about it was inappropriate or unprofessional. You can even hear them joking between takes, commenting on the script, and keeping the tone casual. At one point, Justin complimented Blake on her marriage, playfully comparing Ryan Reynolds' romantic gestures to his own habits at home. That isn't the behavior of a man crossing boundaries. That's a director working respectfully with his lead actress. Blake herself seemed comfortable, even enthusiastic. She encouraged changes, suggested adding lines, and pushed for extra versions of the scene. Justin filmed both, one with dialogue, one without, always pulling back the moment cut was called. Later, in another shot, Justin caressed Blake's chin and lips for a slow-motion close-up. Again, this wasn't spur of the moment. It was direction, blocked for the camera, and performed with Blake's approval. She had asked for adjustments to heighten the effect, and she appeared to enjoy the collaboration. Everything stayed professional. Nothing pointed to harassment, but later, Blake reframed those same moments as misconduct. She spun the narrative into claims of boundary crossing and body shaming, pulling Ryan to her side. The influence of her story even showed up in the film itself. Fans noticed the nice Bulul character, a role she thanked Ryan for inspiring, mirrored Justin's real-life health struggles. Jokes about fragile bones and weak stamina echoed the back problems that had driven Justin to ask Blake's trainer about her weight for a lifting scene. What was originally a safety check became the foundation of Blake's fat-shaming allegation. When you piece it together, the evidence doesn't match the claims. The so-called harassment scenes look entirely scripted. The banter, the laughter, the romantic gestures, they were all part of the job. Meanwhile, Justin maintained professionalism, while Blake appeared to strategically twist events, feeding Ryan a narrative that painted Justin as a problem and positioned herself as the creative authority on set. The contradictions grow sharper when you consider Justin's record outside this film. He's built a reputation as an advocate for women in Hollywood, hosting podcasts, supporting female voices, and speaking openly about respect and equality on set. For someone with that track record to suddenly be branded as a predator raised alarms for many who knew him. Even insiders found the lawsuit suspicious. Some believe Blake's motives weren't just personal, they were calculated. Justin had already secured the rights to direct the sequel. If she could damage his reputation enough, she might position herself to take over the franchise. And with Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift amplifying her side of the story, she had the star power to tilt public opinion. The fallout deepened when Brendan, who plays Atlas, posted his support for Blake's lawsuit. His stance shocked observers, given Justin had fought for him to land the role. Why turn on the very director who championed him? Was it genuine loyalty to Blake, industry pressure, or something else entirely? For Justin, the betrayal cut deep. He recalled private moments when Blake had comforted him, offering reassurance during tense battles with Sony over wardrobe controversies, only for those same moments to later be weaponized against him in legal filings. What he thought was collaboration became the foundation of accusations threatening to destroy his career. This raises the central question: was Blake orchestrating a strategic power play to edge Justin out of the project, or were these simply clashes between two strong personalities spiraling out of control? The truth may lie somewhere in between. What's undeniable is how the story played out in the public eye. Blake cast herself as the victim. Ryan stood firmly by her side. Taylor added her voice. And Justin, the director who had spent years building the film, was painted as the villain, even as leaked footage and behind-the-scenes exchanges told a very different story. The fat-shaming claim appears rooted in a misunderstood safety concern. The harassment allegations crumble under the weight of raw video evidence. And yet, once public opinion shifts, undoing the damage is nearly impossible. That's the corner Justin now finds himself backed into, fighting to defend his name, while trying to salvage his career. And this battle is far from over. The lawsuits are still alive. Tensions remain high. Blake may yet push for full creative control of the sequel, while Justin fights to clear his reputation. Hollywood is watching closely, waiting to see which narrative takes hold, the victimized star, or the director caught in a storm of manipulation. So what do you think? Was this a carefully calculated power move, or a tragic collision of egos gone too far? One thing's certain, this story isn't ending anytime soon.